Hello and welcome back to Gateway to Homeworld with me, Ragnaz. Yeah, okay, this song is really awesomely catchy. So, when we last left off, we were, we got off the ice planet, took a rocket ship, went into a black hole, and found ourselves on the Heechee Homeworld, where we were told that we will never be allowed to leave ever, and instead we will be made into a professor or something. Hey! So they hooked us up with these snazzy quarters. There is a triangle thingy here. It's a chair. It's a small chair. It also has that annoying pyramid indentation in the seat, which for so long caused humans to think that Heechee had sharp pointed butts. It said butts. Let's see what I have here. Look at cabinet. Small cabinet is set to the wall so it doesn't intrude on your minuscule airspace inside your quarters. It is closed. Well, let's open it up. Let's type correctly. Open cabinet. You slide the cabinet open. Inside you find a silver pouch. Well, let's take pouch. You take the pouch from the cabinet. Your score has gone up by 5. What is my score? 980 out of 1600 in 549 turns. Look at pouch. It's a tiny silver pouch with a small label on the side. It reads, sleeping powder. Put the powder into liquid before ingestion. Immediately effective. Use very sparingly. Powder is extremely potent. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, there's a pod. Look at pod. Tan four-sided pod, shaped like a pyramid. Its base swivels open to reveal the interior is hollow. You guess it's supposed to serve as a container. Although the original owner obviously carried the pod suspended from his pelvis, the harness allows you to wear it on your back. Do I have the pod? Take pod. You take the pod. Wear pod. You strap the pod on your back with the attached harness. I now have a pyramid backpack. And then we have this communicator on the right, over here. Let's take a look. Look at communicator. The communicator is very simple. It contains a large display screen and an information transfer jack. You see no way of inputting messages. You seem only to be able to receive them. Oh, something's happening. You peer at the phone's display screen. Welcome to Heechee City. You have been scheduled to present an indefinite number of lectures at the Place of Learning. The first 2 lectures have been scheduled for 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. today. You can schedule any further lectures simply by showing up at the Place of Learning. The lecture will occur 1 hour after your arrival. In order to reach the Place of Learning, use the trams just west of your quarters. Officials there have been instructed to convey you directly to the campus station. When you arrive, an escort will handle all the other details and get you to your lecture. We appreciate the enormous opportunity your presence affords us. Many million inhabitants of the core are anticipating your talks with much interest. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, well, so I have to be there within an hour. Let's go there then. So let's get out of here. Step out of your quarters into a bustling street. City streets. You stand up on a crowded walkway. Buildings are all around, and the streets wander between them. Wherever you look, Heechee bustle back and forth, pushing and jostling you. Like the Heechee tunnel installations that humans have found on other planets, this city is entirely underground. You can barely see the ceiling. But you somehow feel the weight of tons of rock overhead. This street, and others, branching from it, are really little more than tunnels built on a grand scale. To the west, you see a sign pointing to the place of moving. I always want to say palace. Place of moving. You see exits to the north, east, southeast, and west. Well, since we need to be there, let's head over. So, west. The street wanders around and then widens into a bustling terminal. Things bustle a lot here. An official-looking Heechee immediately grabs your upper arm and guides you towards one of the many trams sitting in the loading platform. Ooh, I said that pretty well. Yay! He grimaces and places you inside. The car he's chosen for you makes the escape ship you spent so much time in seem roomy. Feels like you're strapped in for an amusement park ride. When the car takes off, you're thankful for the support. Its acceleration is incredible. It speeds over one of the many corkscrew avenues, sometimes even looping end over end. Why? Before you know it, however, the car comes to an abrupt halt. The door opens, and another attendant helps you exit. You're in the main quad of the Bazaar campus. It's bizarre. Paths weave around buildings of bizarre and varied architectural styles. A large domed lecture hall lies to the southwest, and it has an anteroom that can be entered to the south. It is the opposite of a room. It is the anteroom. To the northeast is a sprawling theater. A mysterious unmarked building lies to the west. It has one thick metal door that has no handle, only a strange panel covered with buttons. The place of moving lies to the east. The Heechee attendant who assists you says a few words into his headset and returns to his work. Shortly, a uniformed Heechee strides up to you and says, "Welcome to the place of learning. I am here to see to your needs and assure your presence at the scheduled lecture. If you accompany me to the waiting room, you can prepare for your upcoming talk." The escort gestures to the south towards an open door. Well, screw that noise. I want to see other things. Let's go west. Check out this crazy door. The Heechee escort intercepts you and says, "I'm afraid you cannot wander off while you are on the campus. My job is to see that you either get to your lecture or return home. My apologies." Screw that noise. I want to see the theater. That was to the northeast. What a jerk. Okay, fine, south. I don't like this guy. We're gonna have to lose this sucker. Lounge. This is the small waiting room outside of the main lecture hall. The door to the north opens onto the quad, and another to the west looks as if it leads to the hall proper. Next to it is a dim light. Most of the south wall is occupied by a window. You only see one chair, regrettably with the uncomfortable pyramid indentation. The only other furnishing is a simple table. Your Heechee escort follows you into the room and gestures towards the chair. "Please be seated. You have a while to collect your thoughts before your next lecture." The guard wanders over to a large window and stares out at the campus grounds. Talk to escort. "Sorry, I'm really not one for small talk." Okay, well, let's go into the hall. "You must wait here until your scheduled lecture time. Then you can go into the hall. If you want to wait, I'll tell you when it's time." Look out window. You see a fuzzy view of the outside through the frosted window. Your escort leans on the window, looking rather weary. He quickly pulls himself upright. "Ah, this guy wants to take a nap, does he? Nya, nya, nya. Let's go until I go north." Heechee sees you moving towards the door and hurries to escort you. Your escort follows you into the quad. Oh, well, screw that noise. Your escort looks a little frustrated when he follows you into the room, but tolerant nonetheless. He leans on the windowsill and visibly relaxes. Well, I guess let's look at light. There's a small light fixed to the wall. It is located near the door leading into the lecture hall. It glows a soft red. Look at escort. Your escort appears very similar to other Heechee you've met, apart from the uniform he wears. And I don't think I have anything else in this room to look at, so let's just wait. Your escort leans on the window, looking rather weary, quickly pulls himself upright. Aha! The Heechee produces a container that looks like a thermos and opens it. A waft of steam escapes as he takes a swallow from it. A confused grimace plays over his face, but it seems to be a Heechee expression of pleasure. The escort plops the thermos on the table and turns back to the window. Look at thermos. It is the Heechee equivalent of a thermos. Although the container doesn't seem to be made of bulky insulating materials, the steam wafting from it seems to indicate that it is keeping the liquid hot. I think I know what I'm supposed to do here. Let's put powder in thermos. Open pouch. In a tiny silver pouch. Yeah, I know what it says. You take a peek inside the pouch to discover yellow powder. Now, put powder in thermos. You start to sprinkle a bit of powder into the Heechee's drink, but think better of it, and dump the entire contents of the pouch. The heat of the liquid dissolves it in seconds. Your score has gone up by 10. Wait. Heechee turns back to the table, grabs the thermos, and drinks the remainder of the liquid inside. He sets the thermos back on the table, turns towards the window, and slumps on the floor in a snoring heap. Nyah! And let's take the thermos. Because it is not tied to the table, or nailed to the ground. Okay, let's wait again. The light next to the lecture hall turns green. Now let's go west. You swing open the doors to the west and step inside. The lecture hall is immense. It is filled with chairs, which are in turn filled with Heechee. Although you have become accustomed to interacting with the aliens in groups of 2 or 3, the experience of addressing such a large population of them is somewhat unnerving. You also notice that projectors are set in the dome walls and ceiling. The disembodied heads of yet more Heechee float in front of them. You can only presume they are ancient ancestors, the dead Heechee whose personalities have been copied into electronic storage. You slowly make your way along a bridge to a dais, suspended above empty air. I like that word. Every time I see the word dais, I want to sing, Amadeus, Amadeus. Because it is a song. Amadeus, Amadeus, do-do-do-do-do. Thousands of Heechee eyes, both organic and electronic, bore into you. For the moment, all you can do is stand motionless. After a few nervous stutters, you address the assembly. 7 years ago. Or not. That is pretty intimidating, folks. Thank you for attending. As you already know, I am a human from the planet Earth. Although you have just discovered our existence, humans have known about the Heechee for many years. At least, since Gateway 1. We have used artifacts that you have left scattered throughout the galaxy to enhance our own technology. By all rights, we owe much to you. You've played a large role in the scientific evolution of our species. Our first exposure to the Heechee was the discovery of a space station which we call Gateway. There, we found storage of spacecraft pre-programmed to travel to thousands of unknown destinations. Curiosity first drove us to get in those tiny ships, and the benefits we discovered in Heechee technology kept us coming back. My own adventures led me to the shield generators that you left behind. Your plan was clear, but difficult to implement. I activated all 4 generators and integrated them with the Vertex. Then I used the virus program to destroy the assassin inside the watchtower. The galaxy is now shielded from the assassin watchers, and we are safe. For now. Things have changed, however. Some humans are not known for their good sense. The events that led me to come here. You are interrupted by an official-looking Heechee. He raises his hand and booms in a deep, resounding voice.
I'm afraid that we have run out of time. I'm sure the human will tell us more at his next lecture, but until then, we are finished.
The Heechee turns to you and whispers,
Your or not to discuss that which brought you here. We will be monitoring you, and if you even touch upon the subject again, we will suspend these lectures indefinitely.
Oh no, not suspended indefinitely. That would mean I would be living here with nothing to do. You step down from the dais, Amadeus, to the sight of thousands of Heechee flapping their wrists. You hope that it represents applause. Soon, you pass through the doors into the lounge and breathe a sigh of nervous exhaustion. Kick escort. You repeatedly bash on the sleeping escort, but you can't seem to do any damage to him. His skeleton is much harder than humans, and he has very little flesh to bruise. If there's an outright way to kill a Heechee, you can't figure it out. Okay, let's get out of here. Well, now that we don't have an escort, we can look around. Okay, so let's see. Southwest. That was south. So southwest. You step in an enormous domed lecture hall. Seats encircle a high platform and screens line the walls. The room is completely deserted. However, so you retrace your steps. West. You step up to a massive metal door. On the front is a curious panel covered with buttons. Huh. Okay, well, let's see. These buttons light up. Hehehe, it's a smiley face. He's so happy. How does this button do? It clears it. It probably is the enter key. Well, I don't know what those are supposed to do. First, you're going to have to deal with that massive metal door. Okay, well, I'm sure sometime later we'll get a password. North. You wander down a few paths and look around the campus. Eventually, the paths lead you back to the quad. Okay, northeast. Theater. Seats encircle a platform in the middle of this domed chamber. About half of the seats are filled with Heechee students. Looks like a theater in the round. But the stage holds not actors, but moving holographic images. You notice that the room is dark, save for the flickering column of moving images on the center platform. Feeling your way, you slide into the seat near the back. Great ships were constructed with several artificial environments, or zoos. A few of these primal creatures were transplanted from the home planet into gigantic from their home planet into gigantic spaceships. The ships were cast adrift to automatically tend to these aliens and seek out other likely candidates. That sounds like the ship that we found. The Artifact. In the time that the Heechee still inhabited the galaxy, none of these experiments in rapid evolution succeeded. However, those ships are still out in space, performing their functions. Perhaps someday, one will report back with good news. Yeah, about that. Lights come up, almost as one. The audience stands and stretches, then heads for the door. Some wave at you as they leave. Soon you are left alone in the theater. Well, that was interesting. I'm sure there's more to it, but whatever. Getting off the seat first, you make your way to the theater. Alright, well, back to the main city. The attendant shuffles you into a private cubicle on board one of the trams. As he slams the door shut, the tram shoots off along its stone rail at a stunning velocity. Again, it reminds you of an amusement park ride. Soon the car stops with a jerk. You jerk! The door opens, and you exit back into the city. Look at those heads. Those are big heads. Okay, well, let's look around. So, north is my place. West is the place of learning. Let's keep going east. You stand on a crowded walkway. That guy is holding a laptop. Buildings are all around and the streets wander between them. Wherever you look, Heechee bustle back and forth, pushing and jostling you. You see exits east, south, and west. That sounds like what I read before. You stand in a crowded walkway. Buildings are all around, and the streets wander between them. Wherever you look, Heechee bustle back and forth, pushing and jostling you. There's a large set of doors to the east with a sign that reads Place of Seeing above them. You see exits to the north, east, south, southwest, and west. Okay, let's check out this Place of Seeing. The high ceiling chamber is topped by a metal dome. Although the room is filled with all sorts of Heechee equipment, the focus is obviously on the tremendous telescope. The Place of Seeing seems to be more of an attraction than a laboratory. Signs are located about the room with instructions, and you see no loose instruments. Everything is secured in its place. You see a telescope here. The doors to the Place of Seeing slide closed. The room gently shifts and begins to rise. Read sign. The signs guarantee the safety of the passengers and instruct them to use in the use of the telescope. It seems that the instrument digitizes visual information and overlays any constellations that may be in sight. One only has to press the buttons at the bottom of the console in order to summon up a diagram. As your body accustoms itself to the upward motion of the room, a guide thing rises from the floor and speaks. Greetings! Welcome to the Place of Seeing. Please do not be alarmed by the room's motion. If you have made this trip before, you know that we are traveling up to the surface to get an unobstructed view of the sky. And now, if you haven't been here before, you also know that. Oh, look at Guide Thing. The Guide Thing is a small Heechee-made robot that hovers about 3 meters in the air. It has no appendages, just proximity sensors and a speaker. A few of the Heechee with you begin to look around nervously. One of them asks, "Will the ceiling open up to the sky?" The Guide Thing responds, "Do not be alarmed. Although the dome cover will open, the transparent shield underneath will remain to protect us from the elements." Okay. Another Heechee speaks up. "What of the lift tube? There's all that space underneath us. What if we drop?" The Guide Thing swivels to point towards the Heechee.
"The lift for the Place of Seeing has impeccable safety standards. Along with brakes and a variety of other failsafes, it boasts a gravity lens as the ultimate backup."
Trademark.
"Sensors placed throughout the shaft will detect if any object is falling faster than is safe. They will uncover and actuate the lens at the bottom. So you see, even if all the safety measures failed and the Place of Seeing somehow went into freefall, we would land at the bottom safely."
That's kinda cool. And convenient. Time passes, the room settles, and you feel your stomach jump a bit. The dome ceiling suddenly peels back to reveal a bright sky. The brilliance comes not from daylight, however, but from an uncountable number of stars. That's not uncountable. You can totally count that number of stars. In fact, you should totally count that number. I'll even start you off. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now you continue. And in the meantime, I'm going to look in telescope. The screens attached to the telescope are dark. You must wait until the telescope is active. The giant telescope slides on its giant arm into position. A few Heechee wander over to look at the attached screens. The Guide Thing speaks up.
"As any child knows, when the Heechee entered into the black hole, they brought thousands of stars and planets to keep them company.
Well, that's kind of douchey.
That is what you see above you. Since this was not a natural phenomenon, they had the opportunity to shape the heavens. Artists of the age created the 5 main constellations, which you can view through the telescope."
Okay, well, now let's look in telescope. Okay. Here is Trillion, the instant messaging constellation. Manok, the antidepressant constellation. Ors, the rowing constellation. Asthemus, the Greek constellation, and Viath, the cup-shaped constellation. Very interesting. And I guess that's that. Talk to guide thing. The guide thing is on the other side of the room, surrounded by Heechee. It doesn't hear your question. Well, that sucks. Well, I guess we're done for now. The dome ceiling closes and the telescope returns to the center of the room.
We'll be descending now,
Says the guide thing.
Please stay still until we reach the bottom. Thank you.
The room slows, then stops. The doors slide open.
Thank you for coming. Please exit through the doors. Another trip is scheduled in 5 minutes.
The guide thing floats back down to the ground and shuts down. Okay, well that was riveting. And north we have the city hangar. This room is a long vertical tube that reaches up to a dark sky, far above. A variety of spacecraft ring the tube, mostly accompanied by their Heechee pilots. Your ship sits in the berth to one side. Okay, well, let's see what's south of here. Standard crowded walkway, and a whole bunch of exits. So let's see what's east of here. Alleyway. You are standing in a dark, deserted alleyway off the main street, which lies to the west. In the rock wall to the north, a doorway opens on a shadowed stairway. It leads down out of sight. Ooh, excuse me. Oh my. Now let's check out this shadowed stairway. You walk down the stairs. With each step you notice a nasty smell, gradually getting stronger. You emerge into a sewer. Sewer. A stream of bubbling sludge divides this chamber lengthwise. A horrible smell wafts up from it, reminding you of ammonia and sulfur. Holes in the wall periodically spew globs of green slime. They drop into the pit and slowly sink into the sewage. On the other side of the chasm, you see an open maintenance shaft. Fantastic. Look at sewage. The pit dividing this room is filled with semi-solid sludge. Try saying that 3 times fast. It's about 4 meters across, a bit too far to jump. Pieces of refuse float along the flowing surface. The smell is overpowering. Okay, well let's not go in here then. Looks like that would go right underneath the place of seeing though. South. Gardens. This area isn't nearly as crowded as the streets. It appears to be a garden of some sort. Lamps strung from poles and supports make it seem as bright as day, in contrast to the eternal half-night of the rest of the Heechee Cavern City. Plants grow in the soft, loamy ground, thriving on additional light and rich soil. They are well cultivated and carefully pruned. Many exotic varieties are on display. Besides each is a plaque. Strangely enough, one plaque is beside a plain mound of dirt. Look at plaques. And gingivitis. Beside each of the exotic plants, a small plaque describes it. One plaque sits next to a pile of dirt. It says, Ironweed plant, from the ancestral Homeworld. Attempts were made to grow this plant in the city garden, but despite the furious growth habits of ironweed on its home planet, it does not seem to grow at all anywhere else. Well, sounds like it's not very useful here. Let's see if we can take it. So, open mound. You brush the loose dirt aside with your hand. Underneath you discover a hole containing some seeds. Score gone up by 5. Take seeds. You take seeds from the hole. Your score has gone up by 5. I'm sure that'll come in handy at some point. Perhaps if we end up on the ancestral Homeworld. Stand on a crowd walkway. Da-da-da. You step into a crowd gathered at a colorfully dressed Heechee. He seems to be in the middle of a speech. The speaker says, Sterigma wasn't just an ancient priest or a long-dead religion.
He was a prophet in the true sense of the word.
The speaker waves his hand and says,
Strigma spoke about the enemy in his verses, but the Heechee had no enemies when he was alive. Was he speaking in metaphors, or did he glimpse the future?
Speaker states,
It's obvious to even those Heechee who do not want to acknowledge his wisdom that Strigma foretold the assassin threat. Take, for example, the second verse of his collected prophecies.
The speaker solemnly recites,
They will come, the dark ones will. Upon black wings they will ride the sky. Knives of fire will fall. Boiling seas will flood the farmland. And stone will crack from hammer blows. Then will the void open to accept us and protect us.
The speaker says,
His words were more prophetic than you knew. Our parallels are uncanny. Each line speaks of disasters that have happened to worlds that resisted the assassins. We know this from the remnants of civilizations that are no longer.
The speaker points out,
The void which opens can only point to our exodus into the black hole. There are too many similarities to ignore.
The speaker states,
Therefore, we must assume that Strigma had some unexplainable knowledge about the future. His further verses should guide our progress. Why ignore a warning from someone who's seen the path upon which you walk?
The speaker says,
Now, the fifth verse of his prophecies clearly tells us our direction. Listen, then, to the way you should live your life.
Time passes. The speaker recites,
Eat the rock and breathe the soil. Make the warren you left behind. Air, fire, and water give deference to stone. It is the foundation of life.
That sounds important. The speaker says,
Of course, Strigma doesn't mean for us to literally eat rock or breathe soil, but he clearly states that the old ways of borrowing are the correct ways.
The speaker goes on for a while, but much of the crowd drifts away. Other Heechee wander up and stare at the prophet in confusion.
Alright, since there are so many new faces here, I'll start again.
Okay, and this we've already heard, so we are done here. Northwest. And we're back at my place. Let's go back up. On the wall, you see a communication device. It is blinking rapidly. Look at communicator. Communicator is very simple. It contains a large display screen and an information transfer jack. You see no way of inputting messages. You seem only to be able to receive them. Yes. You peer at the phone's display screen. I appreciated your talk and was interested to learn that you were instrumental in the operation of shield generators. If you could discuss the specifics in your next lecture, I would be most grateful. Graphite. Human, meet me at the campus theater at 3 p.m. Alone. I have something to say that might interest you. What time is it? 10:26 a.m. Perhaps in the next video. For now, I think that is good. So we shall save. And call it a day. Until next time, ta-ta. I'm playing a game!